welcome to Geekonomics on the old podcast. Mark is not here yet, but he will be in about 15 to 20 minutes. But right now I have Ben and Tim from the Pioneer Valley Paranormal and People versus Paranormal. I said Pioneer Radio because that was an old show at Public Access, and for some reason that stuck in my head. So I'm very sorry about that. But thank you guys for coming into the studio.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, no problem.
So Halloween's tomorrow, and you guys have... I got to get all the mics right. You guys have some special events happening tomorrow night, and you guys are recording a podcast today, and you guys have your own show. I mean, just lay it on us, I guess.
Yeah, we don't sleep.
Yeah.
Not much. Our life is revolved around going to work and then ghost hunting at night.
Yep. So, yeah, we got big things for us this week. We're doing a live on air with Laser 99.3. We're going to do a little interview and then ghost hunt at the studio. Tomorrow we put out the season finale of our web show for season 1.
People versus Paranormal.
And that's on YouTube, right?
That's on YouTube.
Yes.
And then we are also recording our Halloween podcast tonight. So
Wow.
Then a ghost hunt later this week. Yeah. Lots of stuff. We're keeping busy.
So what got you guys, like, what was the origin stories of you guys? Like, what got you into this? Like, what happened to you to be like, man, I really want to really investigate more into the paranormal?
Well, I have the cheesy basic story that every investigator has. I grew up in a haunted house.
Ditto.
I feel like that's got to happen, haunted house. Hey,
I
why
was
not?
terrified as a kid, and my mother explained to me that they weren't bad. They actually saved our lives at one point. Our house was on fire. My sister had just been born, and my mom woke up to my sister screaming, and she looked over to the ghost shaking the crib. And my mom got up to get the baby, smelled smoke, went downstairs. The whole downstairs was on fire.
Wow.
So grabbed us kids, ran outside.
That's a good story.
Yeah, it saved our lives, And I would see them in the house, and part of me was scared, but I said, I have to find out why they're here. They're not bad. They don't hurt us. They help us. So, stuff throughout my whole life like that. And
Yeah, a similar story. Same thing. Not so dramatic, but I was born in Springfield, Massachusetts, and grew up in Wales, Mass. And our house was built in 1971, but half of the house was in the Pennsylvania flood. Instead of the company rebuilding it or giving us a whole new half of the house, they just put it in a kiln dried it. So there's a spot that goes halfway down the house that's all water stained. And there's activity on that side of the house, which was my bedroom. So I grew up, being about 5 or 6 years old, and in the middle of the night, things would move in my bedroom. I don't know. I was kind of the strange kid that it didn't scare me. It was kind of intriguing. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'd see a shadow, and I'd go, well, what is that? I never was like screaming and hiding, but I would have a bunch of stuffed animals all around my room, and in the morning they'd all be on the floor. And I didn't have a dog at that time. I didn't have anything. So I started investigating at a young age. About 10 or 11, I got a video recorder and started taking cassette tapes and doing video recordings and got voices. And that was something that intrigued me to the point where I was like, I got to do this all the time. So I ended up spending some money and got the old VHS camcorder with a tape recorder with the cassette tape, and started going to cemeteries and different places and doing recordings.
Wow.
So,
and
yeah.
do you still have that footage to this day?
I actually do have some stuff from that day. I did have a situation happen. I had gotten married, and my wife was kind of scared and freaked out about what I did. And I was doing a local cemetery. I was camcorder and tape recording, and had a physical confrontation. I physically got body slammed by something, and had handprints on my chest. Brought something home and attached, and it came to my apartment. Unfortunately, I went 4 months with some terror with my family and stuff, and had to have a priest come in and bless me 4 times to get it away from me.
Wow.
My wife was frantic. She's like, never again. You're never doing this again. I don't care what you do. She says, if you do this again, I'm leaving. So I chose my family at that time. But then I met Ben. I met this group and said they're grounded. They're very focused on. We cleanse all the time. We do the right things before we leave places, so we don't attach.
Yeah,
but
that's the scare. I've heard of that, and that's, to me, scary.
It scared the hell out of me, to be honest with you. At that time, I was like, whoa, what did I just do? And I wasn't doing anything. It wasn't like I was conjuring or anything like that. I wasn't confronting. I had video camera. It was just on the tripod in a cemetery, and tape recordings. And we had seen some orbs. We captured some orbs on video. It was crazy. And I had turned to talk to a friend of mine, and that's when some force picked me. I mean, I went off the ground and body slammed me, knocked the wind out of me. If you ever seen Blair Witch, where they're running through the woods with the camcorder on a tripod, that was me. So it was a scary experience, but luckily I was able to get past that, and it actually made me a better investigator, honestly.
Yeah.
So,
Marc's finally here. Marc, this is the guys.
Hey, how are you?
hi, Mark. How are you?
The Pioneer Valley Paranormal Group. And they have a podcast and a show.
Oh, very cool.
But we're talking about...
There's power outages all over Massachusetts and throws off my whole day.
Yes.
So.
I don't know. Like, have you done research about apparitions or something attaching to somebody? Like, have you guys, why does that sort of thing happen?
We look into it a little here and there, yeah. We've seen it a lot. The big thing to understand about spirits or any entity, they're not of this realm, so it's very hard for them to interact. Mm-hmm. So by them attaching, it gives them almost a way to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
If they want to cause harm or reach out to people, they can't do it in their realm. So we're a vessel, kind of.
Yeah. So, when they attach... Because that is scary. I mean, if I... that's the biggest fear I think I've ever had. Growing up, I've noticed personally, I've had things in houses, but like you were saying, when the house was built and who lived in that house, I lived briefly in Somersville. In Somersville, a lot of those houses were part of the Underground Railroad. The basement, it was 3 floors, but then they had these wooden flats against the wall. It was like a hidden room way upstairs. So you'd have to climb on these very thin wooden steps to get up there. And the basement was dirt and it had some weird things. And I always felt like I had, I would sleep. When I would sleep, I would talk in my sleep a lot and I would be violent. People would tell me I would be waking up and I would be swinging my arms or things would happen. And I never had these incidents afterwards. It was always living in this one particular house, and then I lived in another house in Thompsonville. Same sort. We heard a lot of noises and weird stuff. But then afterwards, I never had a problem. So I don't know. I think it's the house too, or what was in there, or
the property that it's on too.
Do you think more people are more sensitive to these things too? Like some people might not affect anybody.
Some people are children, animals.
Yeah, definitely animals.
The big thing with that,
the people you were living with, you didn't like.
If you open yourself up
punching
to
them in the face.
I know. Maybe.
There's no paranormal whatsoever. It's not like where you were, Brian.
It could have been it.
It's Somersville. No one likes living in Somersville.
But as Ben was saying too, the attachment part of it, it also gives the entity a place to go somewhere else. And, we become a channel for it to go into another place. And, like I said, being at home, it was scary. It was really scary. It was scary for my family. And I felt so bad because it was something I was doing and I brought it into my family. My son would wake up crying at night saying there's something, it keeps trying to wake me up at night. My wife would, have bad dreams and severe headaches and stuff like that. And I decided I would have this constant dream too. This was another thing about that. The dream would be that I was walking. I was an investigator. Now I wasn't at that point yet, but this is what I saw. I walked into an old Victorian house and I had a camcorder and I was camcordering. And I walked into the kitchen and all the cabinets are opening and closing, just like you see on a TV. And it was strange. And I had walked past down a long hallway and there was a old Victorian mirror, and it started writing in red on the mirror, and it said, "Let's see how strong your faith is with God, Tim." And it took 3 weeks for that to actually, it was parts of the dream every night. And I'd wake up in severe sweats. And I mean, to the point where we were changing the sheet. I mean, I was sweating. You know, my wife was like, what is wrong with you? Is there something wrong? You know, this is not right. And like I said, once I got to the point where I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? My name came out. And that was the time I said, I really need to go talk to my priest. I got to do something. Because at that time I had joined a church. I, was saved, but I was doing this at night. And my pastor said to me, he goes, he says, you realize, he says that, the Heavenly Father looks at people and, and helps people. But our adversary, Satan, the devil, doesn't want the people who believe, wants the people that don't believe. It doesn't want the people that don't believe, wants the people that believe, and wants to pull them away. And he said, that's what you're doing. He says, you got to understand, you got to make a decision. And he did say, I respect what you're doing. He said, I understand why you're doing it. He said, but, we're going to go through a whole blessing. And I was blessed. I was able to release from that. And my wife got rid of a lot of my evidence, most of it.
Yeah.
So,
wow, that's crazy. What was, I guess we'll go to what was your most interesting investigation? Like, what do you guys, what was your best investigation?
It's hard to pick best. It's like asking which child you love most.
It's always the oldest. It was the first one.
We've been a lot of
It's always the
places.
first one.
It's always the first one. Can't you say we're both the oldest? It's always the first one. You got it right the first time. You should have stopped then.
We've been doing Victory Theater up in Holyoke, one of the oldest theaters in Massachusetts. Actually, I think in the country. It's been closed for about 40 years now. They're trying to restore it. It's like $20 million.
Yeah, 20
They're
million.
They've raised 18 million. So great people that run it. Just the history alone, it looks like it's from a horror movie, but a lot of good evidence, a lot of good vibes. Seen a lot of weird stuff in a lot of weird places. Stafford Springs, there was a restaurant called Bravos. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah.
Got torn down.
Ate there many times.
Yep.
speakeasy in a basement.
Yep.
Yeah.
In the basement, I
Yep.
saw a full body apparition. Thought it was a guy that broke in until I realized he had no legs. And I hate telling the story, but I did the Scooby Doo run where my feet didn't touch the
Yep.
ground,
yeah.
and I was gone.
God.
I learned not to do that anymore.
Was that one of your first times seeing
We
something
had one
that?
in Stafford.
Well, that was my first time seeing a full body apparition
I would do the
as an
same
investigator.
Remember, we had one at Stafford Speedway. We had the same kind of thing.
What?
Remember, we were working there late one night because we worked at Stafford Speedway. I still work there. Brian and I used to work there together. And we saw people in the... we thought we saw a guy go into the office across the way. It was like an old barn. It's been there for eons, forever.
When it was a
used to
horse
be-
track.
Yeah,
racing.
it used to be a horse track. It used to have concerts up on stairs and everything. And we thought someone went inside. So we called the next day. We told them hey, we think we saw someone go in the thing. Security cameras. They're there's no one in there. We didn't see anybody.
Wow.
So we're well, that's weird.
Nice.
Yeah, it was, yeah. I mean, it was
then
late.
2 weeks later, someone actually did break in, and they did. Actually see
It was a premonition.
yeah, maybe we.
We were seeing the future.
But after that, since you stopped working there, a lot of people have said they've heard because they've been doing a lot of renovation in there.
That
It used to
triggers
be,
it.
Yeah, it used to be a music hall upstairs, and they said they heard music and hear people sound like it's dancing upstairs,
That's cool.
but there's nothing going on.
Nice.
creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, see,
Yeah, I don't go in there. I don't I'm not going there at night. I'm good.
if I saw a full body apparition, in your mind, you want it to be, you want to stay cool.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I feel like it would be a Ghostbusters moment where the librarian is just going to go attack you, and you're going to run that and get the hell out of
I've
there.
gone from running away to now I'll step back and go forward. Or my old job, I went to go in the break room. I opened the door and there was a full body apparition standing there, and I just looked at it and I go, nope, and I turned away and walked away. Went back to work. So
Yeah, my job too. I work in Ludlow at it used to be a hospital. And the hospital I had interviewed, they knew that I was a paranormal investigator. And when I walked into the building, the secretary that was there said, "Hey, you're a ghost hunter, right?" Well, she said, "You're one of those people that looks for ghosts, right?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Boy, do I have some stories to tell you." She said, "You need to investigate the building." I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Tell me some stories." And she goes, she had during the daytime, because it used to be a mental hospital, they were psychiatric upstairs, and she said she would see a woman in her 20s dressed in a hoodie, walking down the hallway. And she said she looked odd. There was something odd about her, but she never really wanted to talk to her because she thought, well, maybe she's having some issues, you know. And then one day the girl came down the hallway all the way down to by her desk. And if you take a left, the doors, like in hospitals, they slide open. She walked right through them. The doors didn't open. Nothing happened. She said it scared me so much. She goes, I had to walk away for a few minutes and think about what just happened. And it happened the following day.
That's weird.
She kept asking the girl, "Can I help you? Can I help you?" And she wouldn't say anything. Obviously, it wasn't a person per se. Also, there's a well-known charge nurse that was there that used to have to go downstairs and they had a lock-in security area that they served meds.
Yeah.
So she had to go and get meds for the patients upstairs. And she was walking up the stairs. There's two stairways you walk up. And she said she saw a gentleman walk by her that, looked out of sorts, and she said, "Sir, you can't be down here. Can I help you with something?" And he didn't say nothing. He walked right by. And she's like, So she turned around to go back to see him. And the door, you have to buzz in. You have to put a code to get in.
Yeah.
He walked right through the door. She said, I thought I was seeing something, seeing something,
God.
vision. She goes, I didn't know what was wrong with me. She said, I didn't have a coffee yet, so maybe. So she said she went down, she buzzed up in the door, and then there's another door you go into where all the medication was. You walked right through that door, too. She's like, that's it. She said, I walked out. She says, I couldn't take it anymore. But I work there now. I work in that place now, and I see stuff all the time. I love it. It's my kind of thing. And when I'm really busy and there'll be something going on, a shadow will walk by, I'll be like, listen, I don't have time to play. After work, I'll spend an hour with you. But right now, so
Have you done research on this place and see what was?
yeah, it's the hospital definitely has some history. The prior dialysis group that was there, I spoke to a lot of the staff, and there was constant stuff that was going on when they remodeled the place. They had a candy dish on the break room that always got pushed off onto the floor. They didn't want to keep anything on there. They couldn't keep salt and pepper on the table.
That's weird.
And and it was strange. Some of the patients have the dialysis patients said, "What's that little girl doing over there? Why did they bring a little girl in here?" I have yet to see the little girl, but I said, "What little girl? There's nobody here." She's like, "That little girl right over there in the corner." She's like, "Oh, she just went down the hallway." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, but I haven't seen it, but it seems that a lot of the patients have seen stuff too, and they've talked to me about it because I wear my T-shirt every once in a while, and they know me.
Yeah.
So, and I know that I'm a real person. I'm not going to just make something up. So,
Do you guys find there's more like the repeat type apparitions? Like they just
residual.
they just kind of they don't have like any kind of like communication or anything. It's just a straight repeat.
I'd say it's
every
about
single
even.
time.
Depends on the environment. A lot of times it's like what caused the death. That's going to kind of, as we call it, burn into the environment.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
residual if it's something like traumatic. But we see them both all the time.
Yeah, and you had asked about our favorite. I think my favorite would be the Demon House.
Oh God.
It was a demon house.
It was a house that we we got contacted through the internet, right?
Yeah, it was this gentleman. We'll keep his name confidential, but
Yep.
in Wheelwright, Mass, it's part of Hardwick. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It's a
know
little village. There's 3 people and a cow, I think, in the whole town. But
And the cow's what's on it. Ever since
this
the
guy,
cow that's got the apparition on it. Someone's always milking it for some reason.
he emails me with his phone number, and I call up the guy and tell me he owns a house. It's very small, about 500 square feet. And he proceeds to tell me this list of things that are going on. And we talk for about 2 hours. And it sounds like he's reciting every horror movie you ever seen. Doors opening, footsteps, see figures, blood's going up the wall. Well, not the blood, but, crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So part of me is saying, this guy is messing with us. But, our job will go talk to him. We go meet him, nicest guy in the world. We go up there on a
Great
Saturday in
guy.
the afternoon. Sunny out. It's nice and warm. He's showing us around the house. We're in the basement. We're just, can we swear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're kind of just shooting the shit like this, and all of a sudden, in the middle of the circle, you just hear, and we have it on video. It's on our website.
It's on our website.
And we're like, what the hell was that?
Like, was that a growl? What was that? And someone
have a
said, no,
dog?
it was a deep laugh. You
then
know?
upstairs, we're hearing footsteps. And I go, who else is home? He goes, no one. And then the footsteps stop. A couple minutes later, you hear a woman and a man upstairs talking and more footsteps. And I'm like, dude, seriously, are you messing with us? That's not
Yeah,
cool. He
yeah.
goes, go upstairs. Went through the whole house, no one.
Man.
You go upstairs, you
check
hear
closets.
downstairs. So we did an investigation. Another group have gone there before, and they said that it was the most haunted place they'd seen in the whole country.
Wow.
And they contacted a psychic who said it was at least one good spirit, one bad spirit, and one demon. And I'm like, demons, like, so hard to find. It's a very rare thing.
Yeah.
After doing our first investigation there, I can safely say there is a demon in the house.
Yeah.
I had marks to prove it.
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen. I mean, you've seen stuff like on TV shows
Yeah.
where they have marks, and you never know. You're like, is that real or what? But yeah, that's.
Well, we got some good evidence, so he invited us back. And with the paranormal world, it's one of those things like if you acknowledge things, it gives them power. So like we went there, and these things now knew what these guys are trying to find us.
To
And
make things worse.
the second time
They hide.
was one of the scariest moments I've gone through.
Yeah.
We were setting up our cameras, running cables and stuff, and we were on the balcony off the bedroom.
Balcony.
And we were just standing there, and something pushed him from behind, and he hit the railing so hard it snapped and almost fell. And he almost went over the edge. Like, we had to grab him. I was in the basement with one of our members, Lauren, and I looked over, and about 4 feet away, I saw a figure about 7 feet tall. And it looked like the guy that played Lurch in the Addams Family, like the long face, but like taller. And it was like a blue, misty figure. And I looked at him, and I jumped back, and I was like, what the hell is that? And I went forward and disappeared. And I motioned on the radios and the cameras. I'm like, everyone get over here. So everyone comes down, and we're just hearing stuff, seeing stuff. And then I remember my eyes started burning. And the next thing I remember is I was outside puking.
Yep.
And I don't remember leaving the house.
Yeah,
And
we
I'm
all
like,
got
how did I
sick.
get here? Like, it happened to all of us at that point. And like,
That's weird. So there's like
Like
obviously.
an ammonia smell kind of thing.
it was just like I wasn't in my body for a little bit. Like, I got sick, and we all experienced stuff. It was a very scary night, and we realized this was out of our hands. So we ended up contacting the Worcester Diocese, and we had to talk to the vicar who was with them, and he ended up researching it. We had to, tell our story. He had to contact the homeowner, and after everything, they decided to do a house blessing, and they went down. They did a blessing, and I think he sensed that there's something not good there, because he told them, like, these things might not take place the first time. I may have to come back. I want you to call me in a week. So we contacted him, and he's like, yeah, it's still there. It's not as active, but I'd still need help. So, like, we had to get the church involved. That's how bad this was.
Yeah, and I mean, this guy, how long did he live there?
He's owned the property for 12 years,
Wow.
and
That's
he's been living with
happen
it.
the whole
It's
time?
all times of the day. Doesn't matter what the weather is. Like, you'll just hear stuff or see stuff. And he talked to the previous owner. He had the same stuff, and then his son finally came out and said, "You ever see the green face with the horns?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, I got photos of it." And he's got this video where, like, I refer to myself as the orb Nazi, because I do not believe in orbs at all.
Yeah,
Every one
I
of
hate
them.
orbs. It's just
it's
dust.
dust.
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm
Or
gonna send
about-
you a video of an
I
orb."
work in video. It's like I see it all the time.
He sends me this video of an orb.
If I believed in orbs, I'd be like, think it's paranormal everywhere. Because it's just
right.
like,
He's like, "I'll send you a video,"
Everything's
and I'm like,
paranormal.
"Nope, it's gonna be garbage." And he sent it to me, and I'm like, "What the fuck is that?"
It
That
was
is
the
paranormal.
craziest blue blob.
Blue ball of light about the size of a softball, and it's not like goes by the screen real quick.
Yeah, no,
it's about a
it
2-minute
floats.
video. Like, he's following it in the basement. Like, it's hovering, it stops, moves around like a firefly, but it's about the size of a
like a
baseball.
batteries not included kind of
Yeah.
situation. Yeah.
So like, you see all sorts of weird stuff. Like I said, that's all on our web show. If you want to go to pioneervalleyparanormal.com, that's episode 2. It's called the Wheelwright Demon House. You can see all those video clips.
man. Tomorrow when I'm getting candy, I'm gonna put YouTube on the big screen. I'll be watching your show.
Yeah.
I mean, I love this stuff. I mean,
I, on the other hand, do not.
Mark's, he's not. But you like
Big
Ghost
skip
Hunt. You got me into Ghost Hunters.
I watched
we,
Ghost
we
Hunters.
both
but
watched
then
Ghost
I kind
Hunters.
of got, I don't know. That's what I was going to ask you guys. Now, that kind of stuff, how does that affect how people think of you guys? Like with Ghost Hunters and like
The
Paranormal
first thing we
Stage
hear when people
and all
find
these
out we
other
do
shows,
this,
it's like,
the first thing we always hear is, "Do you guys know Zach?
Yeah.
Do you guys know Grant?"
yeah, so these guys,
And
like, you guys all hang out
No,
together.
that's not like a club. Like,
We don't all meet at Denny's on Thursday nights.
Right.
we have had the privilege to meet a couple of the big name people, so we can even call some of them friends now. But
Yeah.
no, it's everyone does it different. We like to watch them to learn, You know, what do they do? What works? What doesn't? So, but no, it helps us in a way. But then it's one of those things like the skeptics are more skeptical.
Yeah.
The believers believe more. So
Yeah.
that's
Like,
all
I always
TV
found
does.
it was tough. Like, the more I watched it, the more I was like, oh man, it's so tough now because I do TV, Brian does TV. It's like there's so many things you could just do.
We have a thing we do.
Yeah,
but
it's like
because
you
you can do video editing on your computer. Like
Yeah,
I've
well,
seen
you can-
10-year-olds
yeah.
make blockbuster movies.
Exactly.
Everything we record for the investigations is done on the old tapes. We buy them by the case. That way, if you want to see the negatives, like I'll
Yeah.
give you a tape and you can see it's real. We don't
Yeah.
doctor. Like the only effects we put on are subtitles for EVPs and maybe like a transition. Like
Yeah, that's
you guys
it.
run time code and everything, so people usually have that too.
we don't put it on the finished product, but
Okay.
like with our programs, we can. Yeah.
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 Yeah, and the big thing too is we're there to help families.
Yeah.
You know, we're there to help these homeowners that are calling us and saying, hey, you know, my house is haunted. Can you help me? What can you do? I'm like, yeah, we'll come over. We first do an interview. We have to ask the questions. You know, we got to ask. You know, are you on any medications that we should know about? I mean, you know, can you tell me a little history of your house? You know, what type of things are going on? And then we do a walkthrough. And the walkthrough entitles us walking through, looking at spots that could be an issue. We have an EMF detector, appliances, testing,
furnaces, stuff like
you know,
that.
for example, the last
A lot of
investigation
wiring
we
all
did,
in one place.
Yep.
we found that there was a those bug deterrents like the
Yeah.
mouse, and it's supposed to do a small, real silent sound,
Yeah.
humming sound.
It's off a little bit of
It
a-
had 105 for an EMF, and the woman was having
blaring.
headaches, and she said
Yeah.
she was feeling like she was being watched and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That
Paranoia.
goes
That's
in.
all
Oh,
EMF
yeah,
related.
That's high EMF.
Like, I know I
So-
get it. We have racks in the building here where we are, and when I have to do programming for the channel and stuff, I have to sit in front of them for a little bit of a long time. I know if I sit there for more than like 5-10 minutes, I start to get like lightheaded, get the thing going. I'm like, all right, well there you go. So
Yep.
time to walk away for a little bit, come back, because I know I'm gonna start.
Yeah, and you know the thing too is like, you know, when someone asks us this, the first thing we do is like, okay, well, what can we do to help? Sure, we're going to be there. You know, we've gone through situations where we've had some clients call us, and you know, they actually have gone out and did some stuff, and it ended up not being haunted.
Our
but-
big goal with paranormal investigating, like when we do with families, we don't want to prove that there's ghosts. We want to prove that there's not.
They're not.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It's easier to understand that you
Yeah.
don't have ghosts. It's your
Yeah.
appliances.
We debunk all the time. You have to, you know, and sometimes we've had clients go, no, I know my house is haunted, and I'm like, but your magnets, I'm not going to argue. You know, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, you know, that's fine. I said we didn't capture anything,
'Cause some people
but
want
we
it to be-
did
Yeah.
show you
Yeah.
that, you know,
Yeah.
your house is old and it's on a pitch like this, and your doors are opening because of that.
Yeah.
You know, drafts, well,
Swells
old
in the
windows,
wood
that
and-
type of stuff. But
You live in a crappy neighborhood and there's a crackhead sneaking in. It's like my neighborhood.
that's the sounds you hear outside. You know?
Yeah.
So
Now, have you found though more up in this area of the country because it's so old up in this area of the country?
It's one thing we always talk
There's
about.
way more stuff.
The history of this area.
Yeah.
Like we did Victory Theater, and the guy who let us out of the building at night, it's like, hey, I have access to a building across the street.
Yeah.
And then we did that. He's like, I got this building down the road.
Yeah.
That's like, we're literally just going door to door, like up in this area. There's so much stuff
Knock,
up
knock,
here.
ghost you?
well, there's a lot of empty buildings in Holyoke too. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, a lot of stuff.
A lot of
though-
those are being renovated now. Like our buddy used to live in Bigelow, and we would always say that. Like I don't know if you remember it, but every once in a while we'd be out in the hallway or something, walking around the hallway, and to go somewhere, and you hear like the weird noises and things.
It
from
could be the building,
yeah,
but
building
Bigelow
and
Commons was creepy.
old, yeah, old warehouse.
You did get a
they
weird
renovated and
vibe
everything.
from it, yeah. And what's the amusement park? Is it Quasi? What's the haunted amusement park in
Quasi, I
Connecticut?
think is
it Quasi?
the one that they say is haunted.
Is
I don't know
haunted?
exactly. But
I know they say that one of the oldest
I
amusement
know,
parks.
like compounds. There's been reports.
Yeah, I've heard some there. Yeah.
Maybe it's like
because
compounds.
of the
I'm thinking.
Boulder Dash, where the guy got his head chopped off while he was mowing the lawn or something.
Yeah, but I mean, one of them was haunted.
Yeah,
because
prior,
it was just an
yeah.
old.
I know Quasi's the
One of the
oldest
old-
one, so I know
yeah.
that's been.
Are you guys mainly You do mainly Massachusetts.
we will go wherever.
Yeah.
As
Yeah,
long as
good.
we can get there. Yeah.
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 We love doing this.
What I was going to ask was, do you find now with them renovating a lot of those old mills, like a Bigelow, and turning them into apartments, is there a lot more, like a kick up almost of stuff because everything's being renovated nowadays?
Yeah, renovations definitely heightens activity. So
And what do you guys? This Saturday, you guys Can you say what you're doing this Saturday or no?
We can't at this moment because our contracts have not been signed. We do a lot of paperwork for legal purposes. So
Fair enough.
But
Can you talk about what you're doing Halloween night?
Halloween night, we will be doing the Laser 99.3 / Rock 102 studio.
That's going to be fun.
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's been there forever. That place has been a long time.
There was
I did an interview there once, and it was creepy just walking in there.
Well, they say that was a former employee was murdered 22 years ago, and we researched it, and it's true.
It's true. Yeah, we found out.
Yeah, like right in the building or in
what's
the
the
parking
story?
lot.
So she was
it was at her apartment.
It was a
Oh, was it her
secretary,
apartment?
Yeah.
and she went home after work. Didn't come in the next day, so they called the police. They went to her house, went into her door, and she had been stabbed 11 times after being raped, and stabbed twice in the heart.
Wait, at home?
At home in her apartment.
Did they ever catch the killer?
It was a convicted rapist that lived upstairs.
Yeah.
So he's in jail right now.
So they think that maybe she's kind of...
They're wondering. That's why they want us to go on and see if we can
Wow, that's
figure
awesome.
out who it is, what it is, if it's anything. You know, my guess being a radio station with all that equipment, the EMF level is going to be through the roof. So
Yeah. I'm interested to know how they're going to present it tomorrow night. I mean, I'll tune in, definitely. Check it out.
6:30.
6:30. Yep.
Yeah.
I know here we've had some random, like if I'm here late night, back in the day when we said it really late back in the day, like we'd hear doors and stuff. And
Yeah, we always hear a door slam.
Like the bathroom doors, one of the bathroom doors you'd always hear.
The woman's room slams shut. So
There's
you
definitely
hear-
no women in the building. And we're like, well, time to go.
But it could be because we're tired and
Time to punch out and
Time
go home.
to get out of here. That's enough editing for today.
So, I know you said you were born, you lived in a haunted house, but I know we talked about this off mic, but you also, you grew up in a haunted house.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
I mean, what was your experience in that haunted house? Like that house?
Not like the gimmick haunted house, like an actual one.
Yeah.
no, he was.
Well, I'm saying, but it wasn't like one of those ones you walk through.
No, no.
Get a
it
ticket
wa-
and go through.
Like it was born with like raised next to like
Tickets, please.
like a Dracula popping out of a door.
Yeah, we
Actually, the house I was born in, it was 1971. Now I'm aging myself. Yeah, that's when the house came from Pennsylvania. It was a split level ranch, and they used to come in two halves, and one of the half went through the Pennsylvania flood. And instead of the company rebuilding it, they just put it through a kiln and dried it. So half the house has got watermarks. You can see watermarks on it. And that house has activity in it. We're downstairs. You can go downstairs in the basements to this day and hear walking down the hallway. And now there's rugs up there, and it sounds like they're walking on wood, like a hardwood floor. I've had multiple stuff when I was a kid, see an apparition. But it didn't scare me, like I said before. It intrigued me. First, that's why I do what I do. But it was multiple times when I was a kid. I'd have, 8 years old. I had a bunch of stuffed animals, and I had this huge toy box that it literally was like a coffin. It was deep, and it had a hinge on the top, solid oak.
Yeah.
I used to put everything on there, and the next morning everything would be on the floor, and it'd be like in different places. And I was like, somebody's coming in here. I thought my sisters were doing it at first. They were, because my sisters were older. You know how older sisters are. And I had stayed up late one night, and I physically saw the stuff get pushed on the floor by a shadow, and I was like, wow. But I wasn't scared. That was the strange thing. It wasn't like I was like, put the covers over my head. I was more intrigued.
Which I would have done.
I didn't want to communicate with it.
Not playing that.
Go away. I did want
My
to
sister's room's down the hall. Take a left.
Yeah, right. I was hoping. Yeah.
Go back here. Leave me alone.
But like I said, I didn't get scared. I got more intrigued, and I was wondering about why it was here. But I didn't interact. I was not going to talk to something that I knew I physically wasn't there. But that's why I ended up starting at a young age. I got a camcorder with cassette tapes, a VHS, and also a little cassette tape recorder, and started going in cemeteries and setting it up, and and asking questions. And that's how I got started.
Man, I mean, I was the guy who heard stuff growing up, and I was scared. I grew up on it was a 4-family home
Right next to Bigelow.
right next to Bigelow. It next to the Connecticut River, and my grandfather's he owns it, and he lived next door to us, and we converted upstairs into one gigantic apartment, and then his best friend lived upstairs from him, and he actually passed away upstairs. one day he didn't come down to have coffee with my grandfather, and he passed away at his kitchen table. So in this house, I remember hearing noises, and because it was next to the railroad tracks, there was a lot of houses in this area that people lived there because they worked at the mill. They worked at Bigelow Commons. Well, it was a rug factory.
Yeah.
And my grandfather used to tell us stories. And to this day, he'll when I bring him up, he goes, yeah, that really happened. First, I'm like, is he telling me things to scare me as a child? But one story was one of the, right now, Bigelow is a gigantic parking lot, but it used to be all the apartments. And they had a grandfather clock, and they would hear a baby crying from this grandfather clock, like repeatedly. Like it started off small, and it got louder and louder, and they had a priest come down, and he goes, I remember. He's like, I would talk to them, and they didn't know what to do, and they had a priest bless the grandfather clock, and the baby crying stops. But as a kid, I'm like, are you just messing with me? But recently I'll still bring these up, and he goes, yeah, that really happened.
A lot of people have said that live in Bigelow. People I know that live there now say they've seen people dressed like factory workers, walking down the hallway and stuff, and there's no reason why anyone would do any of that.
Yeah,
and then they just disappear into thin air, and they'll walk off a balcony that's used to be a floor,
right,
and just keep walking across like there's nothing there. Wow. So, and there's people that are there's all sorts of stuff like that there, because a lot of people died in that building.
Oh yeah, I mean, you think about it. OSHA wasn't there, and they didn't have guards on machines
and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and someone did die building it too. I was walking up to the bus stop
and hit every pillar on the way down.
Yeah, this gigantic helicopter just comes and lands in the middle of the field, and we're like, "What's going on?" And he fell from the top and it hit everything. He survived to the hospital and ended up passing away. But I remember as a kid going, "What's going on? Why is this helicopter here?" But yeah, this guy died building the place.
I remember in town too, Crane's Candy Castle back when it was a candy.
Oh
place.
Yeah, you guys ever hear the Candy Castle in Enfield?
Everybody. It's right on Route 5.
Sounds like
it's a crazy
a way to trap children.
Yeah,
come on to my candy castle, boy.
Well, it was the Crane's family owned this house for years and years, and they made their own candy, and they would sell it out of the house. They actually had the bottom floor was the two display rooms for candy. They'd make all the candy in the basement, and they lived upstairs.
Wow!
But
it's closed now.
But it was haunted. That family retired, and they sold the house off, and now it's just a regular house. But the stories went, and a lot of people I know that worked in high school used to work there. It's told a lot of stories of way back when it was a monastery. Before that, it was an underground railroad stop, like Bryan and Summersville. And a lot of people would say they'd be coming around the corner as they were working, and you look up the stairs, and there'd be a guy in full monk robe standing at the top of the stairwell.
Wow.
And they'd be like, can I help you? And they would just turn and walk away.
Wow.
And walk
yeah, there was a lot of stories about that.
People hearing noises.
Yeah, they
chanting, chants and stuff you'd hear. But I know a lot of people said that place.
The building's still there.
It's still there. It's a house now, but I know a lot of people said it was a a lot of times it was always a huge place for a lot of ghost stories.
Has anybody messed with you guys on purpose? I mean, I've seen that the very one episode of Ghost Hunters where it was a bar.
The bar with all the stuff rigged up?
Yeah.
I would be pissed.
I was happy they aired that.
Yeah, please don't ever do that.
But that was they were springboards, there were trap doors, and they were doing
speakers behind the mirrors and stuff.
And they found all these things, and I'm like, I like that episode because it was just it showed they weren't gonna get messed around, and if you do it to us, you'll get embarrassed on national
he called the guy out, and the guy's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about those things." So,
that's why we debunk. Yeah. We always check.
I mean, have you had okay, I want to say people are messing with you, but through a walkthrough afterwards, you're like, maybe it's a waste of our time. Maybe there's really nothing here. We don't have to do this.
We've had nothing crazy like that, but we've had we did a bar in Warren, and the bartender invited all our friends to watch, and they're all getting drunk while we're trying to do this. And half hour, we're like, you know what? We're going home.
Yeah, so they were getting drunk, mocking you.
Yeah, you could hear them upstairs. Had another one where they called us in, and there's a bunch of people that live there. They're playing some video games. And this one kid's doing the walkthrough, He's like, all right, so I'll let you guys get to it. And then there's a knock at the door, and more kids start showing up, and they're all like smoking weed and drinking beers, and like, I was like, we in the middle of it, we stopped. We're like, guys, when you want to take this seriously, we'll be back. And then we just walked out and never heard from them again.
Yeah, so it's like they wanted to party with you almost.
Yeah, it's.
But on the other end of that, we did do an investigation in Spencer, Mass. And
Yeah.
we went into an apartment, and it was a single mom with 3 children, but she had a boyfriend at the time. And she's like, I feel the call that I got was that she said, I feel like something's attached to us, and it's attached to the kids. And I'd walk by the kids' bedrooms, and they'd be all covered up, and set in bed. And I'd go to the bathroom, and then I'd come back, and all the covers would be off the bed. She said my daughter goes in the closet. She talks to her grandmother all the time, her great grandmother, and she's been deceased for years. She said I have a great great grandmother was a practicing witch, dark magic. And she said, so, I have, my family's all been tormented through this stuff. So we went there, and, her and her boyfriend were there, and it was the first time that we had actual kids. We were videotaping stuff, and the children were sleeping. She said to us, wow. She said, I said, well, what are you going to do? Can you find a place where the kids can go overnight? She said, well, it surrounds the kids. It's around the kids. She goes, I'd really like you guys to investigate with the children there. And we both looked at each other, went,
right there's a red flag.
It was kind of she told us the story about what she's gone through and stuff like that. She had a tough life, and we ended up going in. We set up our cameras, did a EMF sweep, found an old connector for a cordless phone that was still plugged in, had high EMF, and she said same thing. She'd hear sound, she'd get headaches, she'd feel like paranoia, like somebody's watching her. She sent us a picture. She said that she got scared in the middle of the night. Her little daughter saw a man's face in the window, and they fled the apartment. They drove down to some restaurant or something like that, and she had taken a picture of her window, and she caught a face of it looked like a demon,
like a troll or something.
And we were like, we tried to figure out how that could be faked, and she's like, she was frantic. So we said, okay, yep, we'll set up. So we set the cameras up, and they were in their bedroom. I said that it's so important for you guys not to say anything, and the boyfriend kept talking, and we were like,
she left.
Yeah, she left, but the boyfriend stayed. Yeah. And he kept trying to talk to us, and we're like, listen, we're trying to do an investigation, So we had pretty much chalked it up as...
He was a kind of an off guy, too. Yeah. He was like a recovering addict or something where he was like, he was just like, yo, dude, like, leave us alone. And that whole investigation was kind of a nightmare because of all these outside factors.
And actually one of the children, I was standing in there, everybody took a smoke break, and it was downstairs, and I was standing in the children's bedroom, and I had our camera set up, and I'm thinking, if this child wakes up, I'm just some strange guy standing in it. Can you imagine the nightmares the kid's going to have after that? I'm like, oh man, I don't know. So, we went through the investigation. We didn't capture anything, didn't see anything. We're like, wow, we stopped at McDonald's on the way home or Burger King, and we all laughed about it and said, it's just a training exercise. We'll treat it as a training exercise. When Ben said, we'll probably never look at the footage. Yeah. Well, when we researched the footage.
A week later, I was home.
A rainy day.
And my roommate's daughter was there, and she was bored too, and I'm like, trying to think, she was like 11, I think. I'm like, what can I do to entertain her? I'm like, yo, you want to watch some ghost stuff? So we put on the DVR. I'm like, there's going to be nothing here, so don't worry. And we hit play, and literally 5 minutes into the video, we're watching. It's a camera focused on the kid's bed, and you see this mist type thing appears next to the kid, and it stands up into the shape of a person. You can make out fingers, heads, and then it gets and starts crawling over the kid and then disappears. And then about an hour later, the same bed, you see the blanket, something grabs it and picks it up, pulls it and twists it, and then it just drops.
We captured it on video.
Yeah, that's on video too. We got a bunch of EVPs from that night.
I'll tell you
what. Did
what.
it make the show? Did that stuff make the show?
Those clips are on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I think they're on our Facebook too.
Yep.
But
that's crazy.
That just shows you can't judge anything. Like,
no.
Yeah. I mean, when you said red flag with the kid, what do you mean by that? Like red flag, like this is kind of
the way we like to investigate ideal situation is no one in the building but us.
Yeah.
Because if that kid talks in sleep or rustles around and we're listening to audio later, 90% any EVP we have is that kid. We have our motto is when in doubt, throw it out.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So we have an investigation. We get like maybe 50 EVPs. We all listen to it, If like one guy on the team says, I don't know, it's gone.
So, yep.
Wow. That's good.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about that situation too, not to interrupt, sorry.
No.
But when we were doing the investigation there, a lot of times you feel things like the hair stands up on you. You'll be like an electrical
Uneasy
charge or
feeling.
uneasy feeling. We felt nothing. There was no. I mean, I literally that whole apparition. I was standing 3 feet away from this and didn't see nothing. Obviously it was dark. It was dark, and we had our infrared camera set up. But I mean, if that thing wanted to come and do anything, attack me, or it could have. I was 3 feet away from right by that children's bed. I was standing right there, and it was such an amazing clip. But I also had a hard time. I didn't sleep for 2 days when we had to reveal this. Because the one thing that we do is if we capture something, we're not going to just keep something. Well, I don't want them to know that because they'll freak out, so on and so forth.
They got to know.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I says to Ben, and I said, Ben, I go, she's a single mom now with 3 children. What is it going to be like now? I'm a father. How would I feel if someone came to me and showed a video?
Here's a video of a ghost eating your baby.
There's a ghost attacking your kid.
And like I said, I didn't sleep for 2 nights. I was like really like it was big weight on my chest. But I'm like, Ben said, well, we got it. And I said, yes, of course. So I contacted her and I said, well, we have some evidence and stuff we'd like to show you, and we went to her house and her aunt was there. I believe her aunt was there sitting at the table. And we presented the evidence. And one of the first EVPs that she heard, or one of the second EVPs she heard was, it sounded like an older woman's voice. Now, during this time, the younger child had woke up and was, needed a bottle. So the boyfriend was the one that actually went and got milk.
So that's the only thing that calms the kid down at night when he wakes up.
I said, no problem. So we stepped away, and he got the kid to calm down and stuff like that. Well, during that whole thing, we got an EVP that said, and it's on here if you want to listen to it.
We actually have it here, too.
We have it here,
do you want some milk?
All right.
So you're going to hear the baby crying, and then you'll hear someone else who wasn't there.
This is where Mark freaks out.
Oh, wait.
Background.
So there were no women in the building at this time.
Wait, what? I gotta hear it. again. Hold on.
I heard that one.
You did?
Yeah. So do you want some milk?
Oh, jeez.
And when we showed this to the client, she said, "Oh, that's my grandma."
Her grandmother had one of the first tracheotomies.
So that explains
So
why.
she used to talk like this all the time.
Do you want some
Oh
milk?
my God.
Like after she get a breath.
And she said that was the grandmother that was the grandmother that watched over the children all the time.
Do you think that apparition you saw?
We think that was the grandmother looking over the kids, because we found out the boyfriend was a bad news situation, and we investigated again 2 weeks later, and she's like, "Oh, I broke up with him. He was bad news." The second investigation, we didn't get a single piece of evidence.
So everything's split.
So you think the grandma was trying to protect?
Found out she was wanted to make sure the kids are okay.
Yeah, that's what we think the whole situation was, because we showed her all these videos and stuff, and she's like, "Cool." Like we thought she was gonna freak out. She's like, "No, that's my grandma."
I'll tell you what.
She's watching my kids.
I breathed. I couldn't breathe for like the first 5 minutes showing her this stuff. I was like, "You have 3 children.
Especially
and
like
we're
the
going to
one
show
with
you
the
this."
mist and the figure and everything. I'd have been like,
The thing about that too is that one entity that came over and crawled across the kids, even if that was something dark, the grandmother was there to protect the children. So she could take comfort in that my grandmother, my child was really communicating with my grandmother. So that was a tough one. That was a tough tough reveal.
Yeah.
I'd like to find out why the grandma would pull the sheets off the kid though. Like, it seemed like a very,
Maybe readjusting them, or I don't know.
But
the kid's warm.
you
Get the shit
know,
over here.
it's interesting, like you were saying. I mean, before about like
they're
not there to harm.
yeah,
Generally.
Yeah.
But what if?
and they're thinking they're just pulling the sheet down a little bit. But
Yeah. But you have a situation where maybe this woman's with someone who's not good for the kids, and maybe could be potentially dangerous to the children when she's not around, and this grandmother is doing what she can, and maybe you guys being there, the grandma felt even more like on guard.
Yeah.
This presence felt more on guard, like doesn't know what's going on. But then when this guy leaves, it
Or she was
subsides.
worried that you guys would get rid of her somehow.
Yeah.
Well, of course, we did a cleansing afterwards too. That was huge. I mean, you know, we wanted to make sure we cleanse with white sage, you know, in all corners and push whatever's there out. And then what we do is we offer amethyst protection stones for the doorways and for the client, so that they can have something to carry around for a protection stone. So, you know, it's important. It's important to do your due diligence and make sure you follow through. And you know, the biggest thing that I make sure I do too is follow up. You know, and don't leave them hanging. You know, we did an investigation. This was like a big part of their life. I follow up. I call the previous, you know, people that we've had involved, the clients, and hey, how's things going? And I've spoke to her, and it was about 5 or 6 months after we did the investigation. She said, I don't have anything. She says, it's quiet, it's peaceful.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we want to do. You know, that's why we do it, to help families and help them get rid of the things that are there. It doesn't always work.
Yeah.
You know, we have to call in the church and have them come in and do blessings and stuff, but once so far.
Yeah.
And you guys, you're not making money off this. Is just
We charge absolutely nothing. We lose money because we buy tapes, batteries, gasket out there, snacks. People offer us money. They ask what we charge. We refuse. If you want to help us out, subscribe to our YouTube. One lady, she made us some brownies while we were investigating. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, that's the stuff. Like, we're not doing
Get
this
to
to make
dinner
money.
or something.
Yeah, like, we want to help people.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, that's
it's a
cool.
scary thing to live with. And if we can make, like, big thing we tell people, we want to make your home your home. Like, one lady, she called up ready to burn down her house, and we went there, took a few visits, but we got everything calm and quiet, and you know, she's living her life now.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
like all you can hope for.
What was her big thing?
Now, she just bought a house, was going through a divorce, had a 2-year-old, would see things, hear things. It was more like,
She
it's
actually
not
saw
normal,
stuff, too.
so she was afraid. And we went and did our investigation, and it got worse, probably because we acknowledged it was there.
Yeah.
So we had to go do a few cleansings, and she just didn't want her. She felt like her kid was in danger. You know,
Yeah,
she's going through a lot. Her emotions are a wreck. So
Yeah. I was like, yeah, when like with the grandma, you guys show up, it could make this grandma more on the spirit, more on
On guard.
and more things could escalate. You know, so that's interesting to hear about. Like an investigation could cause more sort of like that demon cabin, or
Yeah.
you know,
Demons, yeah.
like you guys came in and agitated more and more, and this, and I guess with a demon, the acknowledging of it would make it more playful, or
Yeah.
whatever it wants to do.
the thing with demons too is they don't start off doing the evil, you know, malicious, violent stuff. They usually pretend to be something friendly, like
They want to trick you into
little
child.
girls or like animals or whatever. And this is how it started off. The first one was fine and dandy, and then the second time was we're like, whoa, there's some shit in here. Like, we gotta do this. And that's we had to get the church, like, because
Now, how easy is it to like convince the church that something like that's going on?
let me tell you, that
boy.
process fucking sucked. All right, so
I can just imagine, like in 2017, to be like, "Oh yeah, you got a demon. I got you.
yeah, no, like I figured, like any church, like I called the church, they were gone. I left a message. They called me back like 2 weeks later, and she's like, "Oh, what's the situation?" And I got to explain the whole thing.
Yeah.
So they hear paranormal investigator, and they're like, "Oh, fuck, one of these
jeez.
dudes." Like, what's
Clear
going
you
on?
guys right out.
Yeah. She's like,
All
well,
right,
I'll call you
great.
back after the long weekend. Never heard from him again. So one of our camera guys, his uncle is the priest at St. Mary's in Ware. So I called him up, and he was really cool. He's like, I'll call up the diocese. You know, if they okay it, maybe even I can perform it. So I called up Springfield. They're like, oh, that's Worcester County. You got to call Worcester. Called, spoke to someone there, told her the whole story, and like, even though it was a phone call, I could hear her eyes rolling. I'm like, just pass the message on. So then the priest called, and I spoke to him for about 15 minutes. He sounded interested. He's like, I'm going to call you back tomorrow. We're going to speak for about an hour. So we spoke about an hour and a half, and listened to every word I said. Then he's like, I got to speak to the homeowner. So they spoke. And I contacted the homeowner. He's like, yeah, they're coming down in 2 weeks to do a blessing. And the weird thing was, it was supposed to be a 2-priest mission. And the main priest showed up, and they're waiting for the other guy. They said he's always punctual, always super early. If he's going to be late, he calls. Guy never showed up. They called him, no answer.
Uh-oh.
And I'm like,
What?
What? They're like, it's not happened. And that's the last I heard of that. I don't know, like
Disappeared.
yeah. I'm sure like maybe he forgot or something. They said it was really good, but it just seemed weird. Like we finally got the opposing force, and like it's almost like they're trying to fight back. And
Intervention.
they said it took about an hour to do the cleansing. They did once with holy water and then once with salt and incense and stuff. Did these markings on the wall. But I sent that priest an email afterwards. I'm like, thank you. We've been trying to get help for this guy for 6 months now, and you're the only dude that would listen to us.
Now, does he become like your go-to guy?
Well, he will be for Worcester. Like I told him, we've been doing this as this group for almost 10 years now, and we've never had to reach out to someone else. So if need be, we'll reach out again, but usually we can handle stuff. This was our first time with like we knew it was something out of our expertise, something a little more dangerous.
Yeah.
Because safety is always number one.
Yeah, yeah. And I have to imagine there probably are, priests or whatever that understand, and maybe some are just like, I don't want to deal with any of this. But you get the one or two that would be your go-to guy.
Yeah.
Can you do this?
I'm sure with like all the media and stuff, like with all these movies coming out, like we always talk about this, like you're sitting home, I'm gonna put on a scary movie, you're watching The Conjuring, and all of a sudden you hear a little knock, knock, knock down the hall. You're like, shit, I'm haunted. I knew it. It's like, no, you're watching a scary movie.
Yes.
Yeah, your
icemakers kicking in,
Yeah. I mean, all summer long, I can go in my basement, I can do a million things. I'm never scared. But then Halloween, I watch a couple scary movies. I'm paranoid for like a week.
Oh, yeah.
I can't even do that when
And
it's
it
not
disappeared.
normal.
Yeah. And I'm back to being normal.
I'm a big scaredy cat. I can't.
You gotta have it. Yeah, you gotta know yourself too. You gotta know how you receive these things, and then you're projecting it onto.
Yep.
Oh, that's a mouse on my wall. There's no man in there trying to scratch his way out.
Get on those stairs kind of thing.
And the thing about that too is that's one of the questions I asked the homeowner. Do you watch a lot of scary movies? Is it something, are you into horror? Do you read a lot of stuff? Because you want to kind of get a background, because that is huge for some people. I mean, think about it. The first scary movie I saw, my sisters, I saw The Exorcist when I was a kid.
Oh, jeez.
And it scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
And it was one of those movies that I saw that, and after that for like a month, 2 months, I thought the house was haunted and we had a whole bunch of stuff. But your mind runs away with you once you start seeing those shows constantly. And it's important for an investigator to go in and know that, we look at their bookshelf and it's all Stephen King books, and I'm not saying that that's not true, that their house isn't haunted, but that their senses are heightened up.
Yes.
Every little knock on the wall.
We tell everyone the best thing to do. Anything happens, you ignore it.
Yeah.
You
Own your
acknowledge
house.
it.
It's your place. You need to take ownership of your house. And I just gave this example. This is to an investigation coming up. I told the homeowner, I said, listen, it's very important that if you hear anything or anything like that, don't give it any, just avoid it, just annoy it. I mean, just to like push it away. And I said, but you want to make sure that you don't give it any power. Don't let it scare you. And I said, as hard as that is, I said, I understand that you're scared, and I get it. I said, but the thing is, this is your home. You own it. But once you start to be scared and you don't want to be in certain rooms, you give it power. Once you give it power, then it's like, okay, now I can do other things.
You got a roommate.
Yeah.
And you have to go through as a good investigator. You have to tell them to take home ownership. And they're like, the first thing she said, she goes, we do own our home. I said, that's not what I'm saying. And she had an incident where she had a bowl that had flew and hit her in the foot, and we got called. It was that
literally like an hour later.
An hour later, she's frantic. Oh, something threw a bowl at me. I got a cut foot. I need your help. Can you come right back? And backing up at the end of the first interview, I tell them if there's anything different, because we did a cleansing. If anything, yes, it might kick some stuff up. It might start some more stuff. But I said, but if there's anything, don't hesitate to call. We'll come right back. And we do that with every client. If there's a problem, we will come back. But we went back and did our readings, and we got some strange readings, but we are doing an investigation. But we also told her that, was it a possibility you were pulling the bowl and you didn't realize and it fell on your foot? I said, treat it like it was like that, not that it's paranormal. I said, because with heightened senses, you're going to end up being, every time you trip or fall or you bump into something, you're going to think that. So
yeah.
And one of the other things we told her was that, open your windows, let some air in, and tomorrow's going to be a beautiful day. Open up the windows upstairs, because it's very, very heavy upstairs in the house when we walked through, to the point where our cameraman had to go out. He almost had an asthma attack. He was, so we were like, open the windows, here's some sage, cleanse, we did a cleansing, I said, and another thing I says, it does affect relationships too. Like it tries to draw you two apart, and the husband's going through some cancer, and she has some neck
sick,
issues,
so they were both
and they're
going
all
through hell.
very going through hell. And I said to them, I said, you guys have to unite and fight this as one.
Yeah.
I said, when's the last time you guys put a comedy on? I said, she goes, I didn't even think of that, because they were getting a little irritated with each other, because this one doesn't believe and this one, and I said, put a laugh. I said, you need to laugh. I said, love, laugh, and lightness is going to help your home. I said, the darkness, if it's here, is not going to want the light. So by laughing and doing stuff like that, she said, you know what? That's great information to give me. She says, I'm going to actually do that. So when we left, she put some music on. Her and her husband danced, and she said, I had a great night. We watched a comedy. I followed up the next day. I told her I'll call you around noontime. I called at 12:09, and I said to her, hey, how's things? She said, we had a great night. I slept sound. She said, I still didn't sleep upstairs. He did, but I didn't. She says, but I slept great through the night. She says, it was almost like we were reconnecting again. I said, that is important. I said, because laughter and happiness is the things that push the darkness out. And, so far, so now hopefully, our investigation will go through and show that it's, it was just a little bit of that stuff. So
yeah, I mean, that's great. I like to hear that kind of stuff, because sometimes it is your mood and you're feeding. You're feeding
into the beast almost.
Yeah, you're giving
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I mean, we're almost reaching the hour. We're about the hour point.
Well, here's the question I want to ask.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
All right, so assuming you guys aren't afraid of ghosts because you do this.
No, not afraid.
What is it that you guys are afraid of? What does scare you around this time of year? What is the thing that you guys go to for that scare factor?
There's only one thing in this whole world I'm afraid of.
Is it clowns? Because I hate
No, I love clowns. I'm actually terrified. You ever see, in the Netherlands, they have those giant white windmill things? Those scare the shit out of me for some reason. I don't know why.
Windmills.
Windmills.
Yeah. Windmills. Not all windmills, just those big ones.
From Army of Darkness type windmills?
No, they're just like these long white poles and the electric
just
one.
the white.
Those things.
Just regular.
They just remind me of Norwegian folklore and giants and shit. I don't know. Luckily, there's none of that around here.
Don't go near Quinnipiac.
No, I can't say ghosts don't scare me, but there's a difference between being afraid and being brave, and that's the braveness is what's driving us to go because we're helping people. So you got to realize most of the stuff in the paranormal world can't hurt you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's only a few different things that can. So when you see the ghost or you're hearing the knocking, that's all it's ever going to be. So
That's true. Yeah, I think it's
Right, so if he needs a
when
jump
your
scare, man,
adrenaline
take him
goes,
there.
you
Yeah.
forget about that.
yeah.
So remember, if you want to scare him, take him to the old windmill farm.
What am I scared of? That's a good question. Gosh, I don't really know. There's not a lot. Well, honestly, possession is scary. Possession is scary. When it comes to demonic possession, is scary. That scares me, and the fact that it can happen.
Yeah.
But I still go there. I still, I hear about, we have a demon in the house. I'm still there because I'm going to fight it. I'm going to do what I can do to push it out. But that's always been something that, has been a little, I still watch The Exorcist and go, well taken, But as far as that, I'm not really scared of too much. I'm not, I'm one that I hear something, I'm going towards it, that's pretty much it. I think.
Well, it's funny that you brought up clowns because there's a new service we offer. If you have,
it's kind of funny.
We don't dress up like clowns. Or nothing.
Clowns cleansing.
I would not be calling you.
If you have a object that you think is possessed or has an attachment, we can get rid of it and cleanse the house. We started doing
That's a
that.
Raggedy Ann deal.
We just got a 1960s
Raggedy Ann doll.
Bozo the Clown
doll.
ventriloquist dummy that is possessed. And
it's definitely.
so everything stays at my house now. I have my a tattoo studio set up in one of my spare rooms.
Yeah.
So all the haunted stuff we have goes there. And ever since I took this thing home, that's above the dining room where we do all our editing and stuff like that. I'll be home alone, and I'm just sitting there working on the computer, and it sounds like my 5-year-old nephew is running around upstairs.
Footsteps.
I'll be laying in bed. You'll hear the doors open and close and footsteps, and I just sit there and I'm like, nope. not dealing with this.
Let me lead into that.
I went to
Oh my God!
I think it's
you're
time
brave.
to store it.
well, I went to
Or one of those Sam things you can put out front.
I went to the Bahamas a couple weeks ago, and I had a bunch of people dog sitting for me, and I said, "Don't go upstairs because there's pure fucking evil up there." And they said they were downstairs walking the dog, and they're like, "All we could hear is like banging and jumping around up there." And I'm like, "Yeah, just don't go up there." Never see it move. Like it never moves. It's always the same position, but you hear it all the time.
Have you ever thought about donating it to the museum in Connecticut?
We want to start our own museum.
Well, you could. I mean,
We're working on it.
Then it's out of the house at least.
Well, we got
Put it in a locked room
we got
somewhere.
2 Ouija boards and a haunted satanic freaking doll. So
yeah, the dolls things freak me out because I know the Annabelle is based. The movies are based off the Annabelle, the one in Connecticut. They have the original doll behind glass.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Raggedy Ann doll.
Yeah.
yeah, Lorraine Warren's.
Yeah, the Warren. And okay, I'm probably mistaken on this. There is, maybe it's not this doll, but there is a haunted or possessed doll that does exist. I heard the story where people would go visit it and want to take a photo with
Robert the doll.
Robert the doll. Yeah.
it. You have to ask permission, right?
Yeah.
Is
If
this
you don't,
one?
he curses you, and he's killed people supposedly.
Yes, I've heard.
Annabelle's killed people too.
But where's Robert the doll located?
He is now at Zach Bagans' museum in Las Vegas.
Okay.
He just got moved there.
Did they have permission to move him?
The owner did, and they actually had an episode of the show where they went there, and one of the caretakers or whatever just went up and was kind of mocking the doll. He was like, "Hey, look at you, you little potato head, blah blah blah." And Zach's like, "Yo, you get back here right now and you apologize." And like he made the guy apologize because it's supposedly that bad.
Really? So people supposedly have died. I mean, we have evidence of anybody really dying? Or?
I don't know with Robert. I know with Annabelle there is documented. It was a guy in Connecticut. Him and his girlfriend went down and was like, "You're a bunch of bullshit, blah blah blah." And that's when
To the doll? Or
to the
whatever.
doll.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
Ed Warren's like, "Yo, you need to leave. Like this is not cool." So
Yeah,
the guy
yeah.
hopped on his motorcycle, and as he was driving home, he lost control and hit a tree and died.
Wow.
Did,
That-
did she kill him, or was it weather?
Yeah.
Was
Was
it
it
a
just
coincidence?
I was driving like an idiot.
Yeah.
But
Of course.
But
still,
that would do it.
is freaky. I mean, the fact that it happened.
It just makes the story more intriguing.
Yeah.
That's the thing about paranormal. There's no way to actually prove 100% definitive.
It's coincidental stuff is always what.
But what do you
launches
get out of
things.
it? I mean, like, to me, if you don't believe in something, why would you even go into this place to do something like that? It just seems silly. Like,
Some people are just douchebags.
We used to
Yeah,
have half our team
Yes.
back in the day
Yeah,
was
as soon as
skeptics. Like
Yeah.
No matter what, you can't get rid of douchebags.
skeptics are one of the best tools you can have on
They're
your
gonna be
team
everywhere.
because they will disprove everything for you
yeah, until they see something.
until they can't. And then you're like, okay, that's legit. Like,
Yeah. No, I mean, I think there's a difference between a skeptic and that guy just going in there and
being a total douche.
yeah. But I mean, yeah, I think having that Mulder Scully kind of skeptic believer attitude is always good for anything because you don't want to be in a bubble, and you also don't want to be so far out that there's UFOs landing and we're all being you don't want to be, you want to have your own.
You got to
in
find the middle ground.
Yeah,
Like I'm a very spiritual person. I try to investigate scientifically. I believe in ghosts, but I try to disprove them. Like I'm trying to find that good balance, so it's not like I'm leaning one way and people are like, "Dude, you're just saying that because
you believe in it."
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
no,
Yeah, he's the orb Nazi for sure. I've seen some orbs that I've been like, no way is that dust. How can I not? How? But like we said, there might be two of us that believe that it was an actual orb, and he says, no, it's out. We don't fight about it. We don't argue about it. We might have a conversation about it, but look at it. We rewind that thing 50 times. And he's like, oh, look. Now it shows. And we're like, okay, fine. And we just do it. That's because that's what you want to do. Unless all
you want
three of us
solid.
agree,
Yeah.
it's disproven throughout.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I think that's great to hear that you guys are like that. So before we go, I mean,
Although I bet it could get into some really good arguments if there's two of you that are really like.
Oh, yeah.
And
well,
one of you
if
is
they
like,
have rules.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Just
You
make
guys
sure
are
we're not
dumb.
drinking before we start.
You guys don't know what you're talking about.
So we've got like what, like
Dude, it just walked through the screen. I didn't see anything. I don't know what you're
5
talking about.
more little voices.
Yeah, we'll pick and choose the good
Yeah,
ones
we'll-
here. So, if you do, let's do. I'm trying to see what we got. That one's from the Demon House.
We got to hear.
Okay,
that.
so before you play this, I'm going to just explain a little
bring it
part.
to it.
All right.
You'll hear the homeowner speak first, and then you're going to hear the audio jumps up real loud. That was just to enhance it because the voice is very faint in the EVP, but you'll hear.
Okay.
Something. And that's
Can you light that meter up for me, please? The one that's on the floor? I would appreciate it.
All right. Yeah, it was fun.
So that would be the demon.
That
coming
was
in.
wow. I couldn't hear that. I couldn't listen to that again if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Nope,
So
never be able
just
to
rewind it
remember.
one more
as far-
No, thanks anyways.
That was.
It's nice having you. We appreciate
So
you coming in.
That sounded like
Never
someone
talked to you
talking
again.
backward. I mean, granted, it
what
was
we make
dark
out
and
is it says,
What's it say?
"I can do it right now."
I can do it right now.
so
The fun part about
was
it
it talking to you?
to the homeowner, he was asking it to light up one of the devices.
Yeah.
So
Jesus.
the fun part about EVPs too is like when we were there, we don't hear that. So we're like, you put on the headphones to listen afterwards, and then you hear, "Hey, I'm gonna eat your fucking heart," and you're like, "Fuck, what happened?"
Wow.
Oh my god!
But one thing that we did hear there though was there was a growl. I mean, and it was
Growl.
we got a growl that we heard it with our own ears. I mean, it wasn't like
Yeah.
our recorders picked it up.
We heard it say God at one point. We heard a woman saying help a few times. This episode has a lot of good EVPs.
that's
Scott, we got some great episode of an actual orb.
the orb that you approve of.
Yes, it's
of them.
on the cell phone.
So you know it's got to be good.
And the cool thing, the first episode, or this episode here, that's the first time we went. Season 2, we've been filming for a few months now, so we go back and you'll see that's the night where shit went crazy with like all like the us getting sick and stuff. So we do go back, and there's gonna be some even crazier stuff in that episode.
Yeah,
That's cool.
So you gotta subscribe and watch our season 2.
Yeah.
And
coming up.
if anyone has a place they want investigated, we don't charge. Just give us a call, email. All the info's on the website.
Yeah, I mean, you can say your information.
Okay,
if you
so
want.
our website is
Shameless
pioneervalleyparanormal.com. You can see us on Facebook. We have Twitter. We are at the Ghost Guys. We're on Instagram. YouTube is People versus Paranormal. We have a podcast as well. Everything's linked off our website, so
cool.
make
cool.
sure you like, subscribe, all
Do
that
you guys
jazz.
ever get confused for the pro wrestling organization PvP?
No, not yet. I got the license plates too, so
As I was driving, I'm like, okay, Pioneer Paranormal. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
So I know the guy who runs Pioneer Valley Pro Wrestling.
yeah.
And they go by PvP as well. so
Those
it's kinda-
bastards.
So is there any more? I mean, we got 4 more. Is there one more or 2
let's
more we
do,
want to go for?
Yeah, we got no
The,
time.
did I not copy? There was a good one. It's not there. Do the It Was Me. I believe this was a good one.
That's a good one. Yeah.
So what's this one from? Anything we should know before?
This is
Look
actually
forward.
from like probably like 7 years ago when we had a group of like 12 guys. We were in a building in Wales, I want to say, like maybe the library,
was
the
the
town hall, maybe.
Town hall.
All right, so here it is.
That bang, like it sounded like the cabinet door shut. That wasn't.
It's kind of faint at the end there.
Yeah, and it also like kicks up the audio. You notice that? Now, is that
One more
actually
time.
what?
That bang, like it sounded like the cabinet door shut. That wasn't.
Oh yeah,
Says it was me.
It was me.
Well, the first time through, I don't know if you brought it up or not, but it like to kick the audio up. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that could have been the border. I didn't hear it the second time. Now, what was the question? What was the question? It was me.
We were talking that one of our investigators had said he heard something that sounded like a door open or a cabinet open, something like that. And he says it wasn't me. And then this one, the voice says it was me.
That's creepy. That's creepy. I mean, I've always wanted to, like, when I was freaked out, put a tape recorder overnight. But I never want to listen to it. On the off chance it got something.
Yeah.
I just don't suggest that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you hear things you cannot hear.
And the funny thing is the reason why I say that is because I'll go back to the Bozo the Clown doll. That I got the phone call from a girl I went to school with, elementary school, and I've been talking to her for years. And she contacted us randomly, and I called her up, and she said, "You need to come over." And she says, there's some stuff going on in the trailer because they live in a mobile home in an elderly retirement area, and she goes, just strange things happen. She told me, she said, one time we were sitting in a living room and a quarter rolled across the carpet, and now mind you can't roll a quarter across the carpet. You might maybe luckily get it roll. She said it literally started rolling. It rolled onto the carpet and then bumped into her foot, and she's like, "What was that?" But they also had incidents where they'd see a shadow at the end of the bed, and one of the homeowner, the lady's actually got COPD emphysema. She's on an oxygen regenerator, and she said she had something climb into bed with her one night. She said, I felt a pressure on, she goes, I couldn't breathe. I felt the pressure on me, and she said, just leave me alone. Yeah. Well, through all this time, they were going through stuff like this for months and thought they were crazy and were just hearing things. There's something wrong with me. She got a tape recorder. And she decided to push record one night. She said, let's just try it and see what happens.
Bad idea,
She
right?
caught two men or male figures. There's nobody there. It was two spirits that were talking back and forth. She got the full conversation, and they were talking, and they started laughing at and it sounded like a jovial bunch of guys getting together laughing, and it said, "Oh, quiet, she's awake," and disappeared. And she was like, "What the hell?" She didn't know what to do, so she contacted me, and I asked her. This is how this all came about. I went through and I checked the spots, and I checked for high EMF, and I did find some high EMF. She had a air conditioner. It's one of those standalone air conditioners. It had like 60 EMF on it, so it was really high. I said,
in your small place.
It was a regular sized mobile home. And also she had an old air conditioner, so I told her, gave her get a newer one, if you can afford it, or plug that in, unplug it when you're not using it. And I said, did you buy? I noticed you have some antiques around. Have you purchased any antiques? And she said, well, as a matter of fact, and Missy says, tell him about the doll. And I went, uh-oh. So I said, okay, what's going on? She says, I have to show you this doll. So she brings it out and she puts it on the counter, and she said, that thing's evil. And I went, well, how do you know it's evil? Does it talk to you? What did it tell you? I'm evil?
Yeah.
Is there a button you pull on it? It says, I'm evil. You know what I mean? I was like, how? And she said, I feel so weird around that thing. She's like, it just emits like bad thoughts. And I said, okay. I said, well, I took my EMF. I got nothing. I got no readings on it. So I called up Ben. And she said, I want to get rid of it. And I go, well, I says, that's something we can do. I said, but I don't think it's that. I said, let's give it a couple of days. We did a cleansing. She called me like 2 days later. She's like, this thing is it's on my front yard right now. It's in a cooler. She put it in a cooler. She says, it's not fucking coming back in my house. She goes, I've heard it. I've heard things. She's like, and I know it's that. She said, I put it outside. She says, everything stopped. She said, I haven't had any issues. So I said, hey, Ben.
Then it's funny, too, because like we show up to pick it up, and as we go out to grab it, the neighbor across the street comes out. He goes, you guys taking that damn doll? He's like, I tried taking it for a night, never again.
Nope.
And we're like, what?
He said he was walking by their house one day, walking his dog, and now the driveway is not like a pitched driveway, but an old marble rolled down the end of the driveway out of nowhere. He's like that thing. He said, I've never had anything like that, and you can't really roll anything down that driveway. You take a ball. I mean, it's not a fresh paved driveway.
Yeah.
So he's like, that thing's evil. And now, of course, Ben found out.
It's my roommate.
But we cleansed it. We sprayed it with the stuff we used to cleanse before we leave, and left it. She's like, you could take the cooler too. I'm like, well, we'll just take the doll. But that was interesting.
Man, jeez.
Yeah.
And now,
The cooler's still sitting out in the front yard.
yeah, the cooler's probably still there
No, but
It was actually the cooler that was haunted.
the whole time.
the whole time.
Man, yeah, you guys should start your own little museum.
We're working on it.
Yeah,
we got a few items now.
Yeah, that's the PvP office. That we put a bunch of stuff in there. We've removed Ouija boards too from places. Don't use them, kids. Don't do anything with them.
It's just weird. I always wondered that. I'm like, why would they sell those?
Well, the thing is,
novelty,
is,
right?
It's just a bad idea.
Yeah.
the thing with that is anything can be used as communication with the other realm as long as you know how to do it.
Yeah.
That is just so simple for like a spirit to be like, oh, I just move this little spell stuff. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, no problem.
Like all our gear is similar. We have to explain it, but it goes say, oh, I light this up, and it's like giving a AK-47 to a 6-year-old and saying, yeah, just be careful. He's going to eventually do the wrong thing.
Yeah, so it's basically an innocent object, but it could be a tool if you have something that
It's all in how
could-
you use it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Or if you're more prevalent to having something happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just another
Yeah, this was another. I'll tell you about that one. I'm sorry to take up so much time. But.
No.
Okay. The Ouija board
The more you talk, less we have to.
that we did remove from a house actually is a relative of mine. Her daughter and her best friend decided one day they were going to use a Ouija board. It was an older Ouija board. That was an older one, wasn't it? Or was there a newer one? Well, we have two of them.
No, it's the 90s.
Yeah, like the 90s. It wasn't brand new or anything like that, but it had been used before. And they decided that this is fun. They just got done watching the Ouija movie, and they wanted to play with the Ouija board.
No.
And, so they started doing that stuff between each other, and they didn't think nothing of it. Oh, it's just a big game, and so on and so forth. Well, they had played it multiple times, probably about a dozen times, and weird things started to happen, but it wasn't anything prevalent. Well, the girl that I know that we had removed it from, she started playing with it by herself, and she actually had a shadow that is in her house, that would stand at the edge of her bed, to the point where this girl's in high school and doesn't sleep at night. She stays awake. She sleeps during the day. She goes to school the next morning, and then in the afternoon she sleeps until it's dark, and then she wakes up and she's up all night until.
And she's so scared.
Scared. Scared. So I had heard this story, and I've been trying to talk to her about, let me help you. We can seal it. We can help you. Ben knows all about this stuff. Let us help you. And so I said, well, she's given it to us. So we had taken it out, and I had suggested a cleansing. I said, I want to just do a cleansing because that could still be here, And I did a cleansing. We never judge anybody on their what their home condition is, because it's not about that. It's about helping to get rid of what's there. And we ended up bringing that Ouija. That's another thing on a shelf up in the office. But don't do it. Don't play with it. It is a tool that can open up a doorway that you don't want opened. A lot of people use it to. I want to contact my dead mother, or I want to talk to a relative.
It's not FaceTime. You don't know who's there.
You don't know what. Yeah, right. This isn't Facebook.
It's not
You're
direct link. You're just going to get
So-
whoever else wander by.
I've always said a Ouija board is like the internet. You can find anything on there, and you probably won't like any of it.
Yeah.
True.
That's a good point. Yeah, because you don't know who the hell is gonna.
Nope. Don't do it,
back.
kids. And don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth your life being altered or changed, or your family life.
Yeah. Like to me, that's still my biggest fear is something being attached. That's so. We got three more. I mean, should we go through the last three? We got Shirley. We got Weird
Shirley,
One.
yeah, okay, so story on this.
Stop calling me Shirley.
One of my former coworkers had just bought a house where a lady had died, so they got it pretty cheap, and they have what I call the murder basement. It's a weird house.
Brian had.
Okay, so this lady died, and in the stipulation she left in her will is anyone that buys the house can't dig up the rose bushes. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of like what's buried there, So you go into the basement. She's like, yeah, the basement's all weird, and I go in there. I'm like, no, this isn't weird at all. She goes, no, the basement. And she moves a rug, and there's a secret door. And we open it up, and you go down like 4 stairs, and it's like a short room. That's
a root
all.
cellar?
Well, it was all like playground sand, like fresh playground
sand.
sand that had plastic tarps over it on half of it, and on the other half was like an old whiskey barrel, and there was dresses in there that were shredded, and then there was a burlap mask tucked into the wall. And you go over to like where the sand is, and it looks like blood everywhere. So we nicknamed it the murder basement.
What was the blood though?
The more I looked at it, I think it may have been like sap from the trees used,
Yeah.
or possibly some stain. But it's just a weird setup. Like,
Yeah.
So the lady who lived there and died, her name was Shirley, and this is my friend and her son. I'm showing them some equipment, and he wants to find Shirley.
Here we go.
Here, Justin, take this with you. I'll stay down here in a minute.
Why?
I'm not going to leave you down here.
I want to find Shirley. I want to be.
So what?
I'd say just leave.
Here, Justin, take this with you. I'll stay down here in a minute.
Why?
I'm not going to leave you down here.
I want to find Shirley.
That little grunt noise right there. It sounds like an elderly woman to us.
Yeah.
We think that might be Shirley.
Yeah, it's like very subtle. I heard it
Sounds
the second time.
it's like almost like a just leave kind of thing or something. Like my grandmother gets mad at me for saying something annoying. She's like, just leave. So it sounded like to me, it's like, just go away.
Yeah, that was a weird one. And then we got
So if you do Weird Voice 1, this was our first ever investigation. This is our first EVP. This is from 2009. Actually, Halloween night we did this. So this is literally 8 years ago tomorrow.
Yep.
So there's like a faint voice that like you can't make out what it says.
Yeah, you can hear.
You hear the investigator Sam speaking first.
That right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then we reversed it because we couldn't make it out.
It's like, no, you're not. It's like, I'm speaking for it. It's like, no, you're not.
So we reversed it, and I hear, "Hey, you."
Oh yeah. Man, that is a little creepy. That's weird. That's speaking backwards.
Yeah, it was weird. Like our first investigation, our first EVP, and we couldn't make it out, and I flipped it around, and I've never heard of. Like I've heard one of the theories is like say you go to like Italy to investigate, and you're talking in English. When you get EVPs, they're going to be in English because that's what you speak. Like the spiritual realm kind of like conforms to what it needs
Rosetta
to.
Stone.
Yeah. So the energy is what you're picking up, and it's just like your head's-
Spiritual Rosetta Stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is weird. I have to say the do you want milk? Yeah, and I
That
can
was not
do
so
it.
bad. I didn't know
The
it was a
demon
grandma.
house.
The
is-
demon one.
Yeah. that's-
When someone's grandma, you kind of go, oh,
Yeah.
that's cute that the grandma's still around, you know, helping out.
But we've had one of our members. We have a couple mediums. They did an all-girls event at Lizzie Borden's house.
Oh, jeez.
And they had a woman screaming like she's being murdered a couple times. In the room with the couch, you get a man that says, "That's not your couch, get off." And then the girls, you can hear them all talking in the background, and you hear a man's voice go, blah, 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 blah. And then the coolest one is it came up with the name Elijah Buffington. That's all that popped up. We're like, what the hell does that mean? So we researched it, and he was one of the jurors on the Lizzie Borden trial.
Really?
So those are all on our Facebook, I believe, and maybe our YouTube channel.
Wow. See, I could picture the dad probably.
Yeah.
Blah blah. I mean, was it the dad killed first on the couch?
Yep, and then the mother up in the bedroom.
mother, yeah. I mean, Lizzie Borden stuff's always interesting.
Yep.
I did see that horrible Lifetime movie they did a couple years ago with Christina Ricci.
Yeah, yep.
It was bizarre
Yep.
only because they used modern day music.
Yeah.
It threw me off. I'm like, what are they trying to do? I don't feel like I'm in the period. I'm in this bizarro show. It was so weird. But I'm always fascinated by that story and, people like that. Like, it's always interesting to hear about. But what is your dream place to investigate? Like, what's the two place?
We get asked this all the time.
Yeah.
I have two, and we've reached out to both. The Belchertown State School in Belchertown, Mass.
Which is always very popular.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Munson Developmental Center. Belchertown, we've contacted the owners, and because the transistors in the old power plant are leaking into the ground and the buildings are falling, it's a no-go. It's too dangerous.
Yeah.
Munson, however, we've called, left messages, emailed, I've mailed letters. They will not answer us no matter what, which is weird. I worked for a theater company, and the state had given us one of those buildings to use as a workshop. So 2 nights a week for about 3 hours a night, we'd be there building sets and costumes and stuff. And the stuff that would happen in one of the newer, it's like built in the 50s or the 70s, it was insane. Like doors opening and slamming. We left an EVP recorder going on the 4th floor one time. You can hear kids screaming. Like, I was like, I need to be in here. But no one will get back to us.
Too bad, you don't have that connection. Do they still do? Is it an active place?
It's very it was sold to, I'm trying to think, it's the Massachusetts Development Association Committee. Somewhere company owns it now. They're trying to sell it.
Okay, so nobody's in there doing things.
Nope. They were using a few of the buildings up front for stuff, but I think that's even gone now.
Because too bad you would have that little connection. Like,
Yeah.
hey, just leave the door open.
Yep.
Well, here's the big thing too is that because we're insured, we have our own insurance, liability insurance. We wouldn't trespass.
Yeah.
We always get permission.
Yeah.
Because our credibility would be shot.
That's
If
true.
we got arrested for trespassing, forget it.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it wouldn't be worth it to us. But we've reached out to the governor of Massachusetts and sent a letter of intent, and we're hoping, we're hoping that we could do it. And it's not like we're going there to try to say, oh yeah, to find out it's haunted. We want to give validity to what had happened there. All the spirits that were there that are still there. Have voices.
You hear the horror
hear.
stories. We want to try to find some of the good stuff in it.
Yeah, some of the good things, and that's the way we would go in there. It's my mom worked there, and she said the place is crazy. And no pun intended. Even when the clients aren't in the buildings, it's loud and door slamming and stuff like that. So, but yeah, that's another thing we can say to the viewers and the listeners out there: don't trespass. Get permission. Ask permission. Do things right, because what happens is it ruins it for people who are actually trying to do the right thing.
And for yourself if you catch something, because you
Right.
don't have the permission to do it, so you can't use it.
But the one that I really want to go to is I want to go Eastern States Penitentiary. I want to go there because they have a padded room, and I'm the crazy guy that wants to put the
straight jacket on,
and I'm with an EVP recorder because I know that is a very, very active place.
Yeah.
And that room there, it's not because I guess I'm a little crazy in my mind in that way, but there's a lot of stories to be told in that room because you think about it, they were in a straitjacket in a padded room in the dark. It's isolation,
that's crazy.
and the spirits that are probably still locked there have a story to tell, and they, I want to put myself into that situation where I can get that story. That voice will be able to be heard, and if that voice can be heard, maybe it'll be able to finally leave. Leave
That's true. You give it some closure or something, whatever.
Yeah. So, but Munson State too, definitely.
Wow.
It's close. I've always wanted to go there. I did when I was a kid. Spent some time there before I was PvP, but yeah, it's a crazy place for sure.
Wow. The one thing I saw this on one show, but where people start drawing blood and that kind of sort of thing, is that where you draw the line? Like, I don't. You probably know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It was Ghost Hunters International.
Yep.
Which was.
It did the blood oath.
Yes, and I know Chris Williams. She left after that. She was done.
Yeah.
And I watched that episode, and honestly, after that, I didn't watch again. Like, I kind of felt like they were trying to push the envelope unnecessarily. And when they were like, the guys, unlike you guys are like, well, if we all don't see it, then it's gone. They were like, we're going to do it. We don't care what you guys think. And I know some of them were really like, this is too much. And I thought it was too much as a viewer.
Yeah, it's a safety thing because, like, there's people that don't believe in it, but, like, what if this stuff is 100% real?
You don't want to screw
you
yourself.
do, yeah. Like, there goes my soul for all eternity. Like, I don't want to do that. Like,
Yeah, I honestly, I really never thought about that ritual thing. And when I saw it on TV, I'm like, real? Like, I've seen it on movies and all, yada, 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 but, like, to actually see someone trying to really do it, it kind of was like, this is real?
Yeah.
This is gonna... And you might make people want to try that. By seeing it on TV, you might be...
That's just crazy. I mean, one, it's kind of BS as far as I'm concerned, because what are the viewers thinking? And what it does is, who's the people that are watching it? The young teenagers that are like, well, if I do this blood oath, maybe we can see a spirit, or and
That's exactly.
It opens
Like
up
the
a
Bloody
whole
Mary
bunch of
thing,
stuff for one, and for two, we're the type of group that doesn't conjure. We're not going to go there. I'm not going to go to the Lizzie Borden house and say, here's this axe. Can you put this axe on my head? I'm not going to do that. That's not one of the things I plan on doing. But no, as far as that situation, no, never. We have had to close things. We've had to use a Ouija board to close things, because if a Ouija board is open, it's going to stay open. And Ben's well versed with that, and had to close that. That was a couple things, but we don't use it to conjure. We're not there to make things worse for people. We're there to try to remove that stuff. So.
Yeah.
Actually, we do use a Ouija board in the Demon House.
We did
in
in the
season
Demon
2. So just saying,
we did it. We did in the.
But that was
Demon
after
House.
all the chaos. It was the cool thing about that is
But that was the close of
we
the
use
portal.
the night vision cameras.
No.
So like it's pitch black, we couldn't see. So like a lot of times you're like, oh, people are pushing to spell it out. Us with our hands on it, we can't see what it's spelling. We had someone with a
Dark.
camera watching.
The night vision.
And we're like, why don't you want the homeowner here? And it starts moving. And it kept going and kept going. And the person's like, it just keeps saying my house over and over again. And I'm like, all right, cool. That's our camera guy. We had a new one. He just started. And he's like, I was a skeptic until tonight. Now I don't want to ever do this again.
I'm the guy holding the thing, and one of the things was I was standing up there. He's like, well, I'm not. Who's going to hold the camera? So I'm holding the camera. and I'm going, guys, but the homeowner was like, I want to find out. He's like, is there a way? And that was one of the things that we knew at that time, especially with it being so prevalent, that it was going to be a demon. And I had the scratch marks, the pictures of the scratch marks, the proof. I had scratches of 3, but I didn't know I had them at the time.
Till later, right?
I went home and take a shower, and had my wife goes, what happened to you? And I pulled up my side of my shirt, and I had 3 scratches on the side. That was the same night I almost got pushed off the balcony.
Yeah.
So that was a scary place.
That's
creepy.
Have you guys ever heard of there's that area? I don't know where it is in the United States. It's it's like I think it may be Arizona or something, but it's like a well-known portal, or it's a well-known area where it's like very receptive to these things. I've heard people talk about it.
Oh,
Fall River?
there's a few of them.
There's a few of
They're
them?
where the way lines, is that what they're called? Way lines?
Ley lines.
Ley lines,
Yes,
where they
yes.
convert.
Uh-huh.
And then there's a big one in Mass, the Bridgewater Triangle. It's
That's what I'm thinking. Okay.
yeah, they had a lot of stuff, like even Reagan saw
A
UFO over there.
Yeah.
Really?
He was
President
flying,
Reagan, yeah.
he was flying, doing, I think it was maneuvers over that area, and he actually radioed in and said, I think I just saw a flying saucer or something like that. He's like, and he was very credible. It wasn't like he was just making stuff up. He was pretty, obviously, he became the president. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was crazy.
I've seen one UFO only because I couldn't tell you what it was, and growing up I was always into that kind of stuff, and then I was with my
Definitely
mom.
made you think that.
But my mom, who doesn't believe in that stuff at all, where she picked me up from work and we're driving home. It's a cloudy day, overcast, and we just see a light, and it looked like a plane, and then it starts moving. I'm like, Mom, look at that light. And she's like, what? And we watched this white light in the sky just doing zigzags. And I'm like, what could it be? And like, we followed it. We went to Summers, we parked, we saw this thing moving all over. And my mom's just like, I can't believe what I'm seeing. I don't believe in this. I don't know what it is. And I would only just say it's a UFO because I couldn't tell you what it is. It could have been a helicopter, but it seemed odd. Like, to this day, but that's like one experience I had with my mom where it was like, we both couldn't explain it. We both couldn't say what it was. We were like, why was it there? What was it doing?
Yep. That's why they call it UFO, unexplained.
Unexplained flying object. And I don't know, that kind of stuff. It's cool when you see it because there probably is a reason, something, maybe. I don't know.
Well, they have Area 51. That's for a reason. But there's a lot of things. I mean, that's a tough one because that's a tough one for me. When I was a kid, I had an experience. Same thing. It was a bright light in the backyard at like 2:00 in the morning, and I'm like, "What is this?" And my mom, God rest her soul, she had brass balls. I'll tell you, man. She was the type of. She's like, well, "Let's go find that thing," And we walked up on the top of the hill, and it was a huge bright light, and then it went. Phew, it was gone. You can't explain it. I can't say what it was, but it was a UFO to me, and I was young at that time. So, but you never know. I mean, a lot of people will say, "Oh, that's crazy," unless you have an experience like that. Same with ghost hunting. You're not going to become a believer.
Everyone's a skeptic until they see it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the only time I saw an apparition, my grandfather died when I was 13. that same week my grandfather died, we moved into a house. He never got to see the house. We lived in this apartment in Thompsonville until I was 13. So that same week was very hectic in our life. And we moved in, and I remember being in the living room, and I saw someone who, I remember someone wearing white walking into the hallway. I thought it was my mom, so I ran down the hallway, and I was like, Mom. I look around. I looked in the bathroom. I looked in my room, my brother's room, and I went in their room, and there was nobody there. And I'm like, I started like panicking, and my mom's like, I'm in the kitchen. What? And I ran out of the hallway, freaking out. I'm like, I just saw someone walk down that hallway, and it looked like Grandpa, and I don't know. I really kind of chilled me a little bit, and that whole summer we all saw weird things, and we chalk it up to it was my grandfather
checking a new house out.
Yeah, because
almost like a blessing in your house. Like, hey, good for you. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, like that's how we saw. Because in the basement, we were all in the basement, and we saw an orb, or we saw something. But it was me, my brothers, and my neighbor. We were all down there, and we all looked at the same time. It wasn't like, hey, look at that. We all saw something. And we all froze and freaked and ran up. Like, it was all of us together. We were all like, did you see that? Yeah, I saw that. What was it? I don't know. And we hated the basement after that. We were like, we don't want to go to the basement.
The dreaded basement.
And then my mom she saw a white light in the kitchen, and it scared the cat, and the water and everything went flying. And my mom, it scared her, but she saw this white streak. And then after that, there's nothing. So we always chalked up to that grandfather thing.
Yeah. It's actually nice to say that too, because we've had clients that have said that I was in my house, I bought a new house, and I saw my grandfather, my grandmother, my mom, or my dad. But if that's a possibility, but one of the things that I always think of too is they're going to come and say, come there and be happy for this situation. My niece just got married, and she said that the night before she said that she thought she saw grandma, my mom. And, but she hadn't come back, it was just like, I'm happy for you. And my son has also seen my mom in the house, that I grew up in. And, but it was only once. The thing is people have to be careful with paranormal stuff, because if it keeps coming back and forth, you might want to think about, is it really, why are my parents here, first of all? Why are they still, they should be in heaven? That's the way I look at it. And why are they still here? And then you got to start thinking about it and figuring out it could be a demon using, a loved one to get close, to attach. So you just got to be careful.
Yeah.
But it's, like I said, I've seen relatives short periods of time. During major things too. Like when my father passed, my mom passed away. My father, I felt my father there. So, so that's a big thing. But it was just once.
Yeah.
It's like that last goodbye kind of thing.
Yeah, right.
I've had that when my grandfather passed recently. I feel like he was like the first time I got in my Jeep afterwards. Like the first time I bought my Jeep, he was the first person I gave a ride to. So that first time after my mom told me he passed away, I felt like he was in the car with me that ride to the next place I went to.
Yeah, and that's a comfort thing.
Like, you just get like that kind of like your last goodbye kind of thing.
Yeah. Man. I guess we could talk forever. We reached almost 2 hours.
Wow. Oh, great.
But give everybody again your information.
I'm Ben. I'm a Gemini. I like.
He's got a creepy doll in his upstairs.
You like creepy dolls? I'm your man.
Tattoo and a creepy doll like that. Check it out.
So our website is pioneervalleyparanormal.com. You can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, at The Ghost Guys, Instagram, People vs. Paranormal, YouTube, People vs. Paranormal. We have podcasts too. Lots of stuff. Check us out. Like everything, all that jazz.
Is that the same spot still wants to volunteer or anything too? Same.
Yeah, if anyone's got a location they'd like us to investigate, our contact's on our website, or you can call us.
Would like to join up, maybe?
How's your camera return around? Do you get a lot of camera people?
No, we got a.
They're steady.
Well, let me give a shout out to our team now. That's I founded this team with Sam Luvatakis years ago. He moved to Utah a couple months ago, so we miss you, bro.
Definitely miss him.
Yeah, but
doing Mormon investigation.
we got Tim. We got
I see you have
Lauren.
7 wives in this house. Something.
We just hired on Lauren Middleton. She's our female investigator. Charlene and Angel, they do our medium work when needed. Then we have our camera crew, Anthony and Brandon. That's it. There's pretty much 5 of us that do this. So, yeah, we're not looking for people right now. Well, we might be for the right person because Sam left a big hole that we're trying to fill.
It's kind of hard to fill that hole.
He was a great guy. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, we do our show. Season 2, or finale comes out tomorrow. Season 2 will start probably by the first of the year. We got 12 episodes on that one.
Yeah.
So watch those. It's on
So
your website.
subscribe on our website. It'd be great to,
And your own podcast, right?
Yep, that is People versus Paranormal. We talk about all things paranormal. We get super silly. We like to swear like sailors.
Yeah,
like,
we're just a bunch of crazy guys that get together and talk. And Lauren comes once in a while, and she's like a crazy guy who talks too. So,
check it out.
Awesome. Tomorrow, I like I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'll put your show on
I'll be locked
the
in my
TV.
office, waiting for the day to be open.
Handing out candy.
Right.
Cool. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate
It
it.
was awesome.
Yeah, and we'll be doing a show
Thursday night, we'll be doing after the movies, after Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, we'll see Thor Ragnarok.
Broadcasting live from Denny's,
Like
home of anywhere that's paranormal. In your stomach, Denny's.
yes. So we'll see you guys later
Talk
on
about
this week.
haunted things.
Yeah.
My stomach after Denny's.